I am joined with, if I can pull this up, there we are. I'm joined with the man himself, good friend of this show, Mark Frost. Mark Frost is an economist, professor, consultant, drummer, Eagle Scout, Marine capitalist, Marine Schumpeterian, recovering libertarian. Mark, I know that by heart. How you doing, my man? You doing okay this morning? I didn't even look at the thing. I pulled it up and didn't even look at it. How you doing? You doing okay this
Always
morning?
good to be on your show, man. You know I love you, and
Oh man,
life
it's
is
always good to
good.
have you.
Weather's good. It's not so cold anymore. The squirrels are running all over the place. I'm in the drum room this morning.
Are
Cats
you?
are harassing me, so life is good.
Well, you know who's very angry? Penguins. Because
Lots of people.
apparently
Yeah,
Trump has sanctioned or has put tariffs on penguins,
yeah,
Alan.
yeah,
There are no people there. They're just penguins there.
yeah.
And those penguins have been chirping away, very angry, very upset at these tariffs. You and I are going to have a very different opinion on this. Very different opinion.
Maybe not as
Oh,
big, maybe not as different as you think. That often happens with us.
fair enough. That is true.
Usually
That
we
is true.
disagree on the tactics, not or the grand strategy, not so much the actual what's happening, because facts are facts.
Facts are facts.
It's silly to debate facts. I can't stand that. I mean, 2 + 2 = 4, no debate.
Fair enough. I accept that. Let me ask you this. I've seen some reporting, I think it was the Tax Foundation, that pointed out that people are going to effectively have to pay like a tax of $2,100 each as a result of the sanctions that Donald Trump has effectively waged against the world. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that?
Uh, most economic topics aren't conducive to sound bites, so I both agree and I disagree. With it at the same time, because you have a short run impact and you have a long run impact. Whether Trump is going to be successful or not, I'll leave that to the soothsayers, to the political scientists, and that sort of a thing. But here's what he's trying to do. And I sent you something that earlier today that a client of mine who does a lot of international commerce, he literally asked me, he goes, "Hey, could you write something short, nothing fancy? I have to talk to my board, and I want to understand what this tariff thing is going on and why it's important and what exactly is going on." So I sent you almost exactly what I sent him, with just personally identifiable information taken out. And so what Trump is trying to do, and again, whether he's successful or not, only time will tell that. What he's trying to do is to conquer probably the fundamental problem of a representative democracy. How do you think beyond the next election? Look at the difference of Russia. Russia has had the same president for quite some time. There's continuity, there's consistency in foreign policy, there's consistency in domestic policy, there's consistency in economic policy. In the United States, it's possible for everything, as we've just recently seen, for everything to just be blown up every 4 years. And so what Trump is trying to do, and I don't say 100% on anything. I'm 99.999% confident this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to finally say, if we don't start thinking long term, and I don't mean 5, 6, 7 years, I mean 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. If we don't start doing that, we're doomed, because other countries have their country first policy. They have an industrial policy that is designed not necessarily to provision their citizenry with the cheapest goods, but to position the country into the modern world on a long-term basis that promotes industrial production domestically within the United States borders, especially in industries that we have deemed are strategic, important, and essential. So that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to basically untangle the yarn of decades of what I consider failed macroeconomic policy that characterizes representative democracies. It just does. Go back in history and look at what kills democracies. It's fraud. It's basically what Doge is trying to fix. It's fraud, waste, inefficiency, and most of all, impotence. I mean, if the barbarians are coming and they're at the gate, the time to debate's kind of over. You need somebody to step forward, and you have to, you need somebody with a personality that is willing and able to do things that, generally speaking, we dislike in a representative democracy. Look at ancient Greece. Look at Rome. Look at how debating societies, or better said, look at how countries that basically turn into just debating societies, nothing ever gets done. The only people that really benefit well are the insiders, the inner party people, that sort of a thing. And that's what causes societies to crumble. I think Trump truly realizes that. And I think this is what he's trying to do. It's no longer 1946. I've been saying this almost my whole career. I mean, even as a young professor, I was like, why do we need NATO? Why do we need this Cold War apparatus when the Cold War is over? Why do we have, if we are no longer the world's hegemon in the sense that we were in 1946, and we ought to be proud that we don't have to be, because we did some good things. Bretton Woods established the modern international monetary order. And as long as we had the boogeyman, I mean, I think maybe our younger viewers don't grasp how much the USSR as the boogeyman drove everything about American policy. We didn't care about fairness and trade as long as they weren't communist. As long as Canada wasn't communist, we didn't care. As long as Japan stayed capitalist, we didn't care. Indonesia, we did a coup, on Sukarno because Suharto was our guy. I mean, the CIA literally, because we viewed Sukarno as someone who was at least communist friendly. And if you really go back and study it, he wasn't. He was just simply saying, perhaps we could have something in between.
Yeah.
And one of the most corrupt presidents in the history of politics was Suharto. I mean, his daughter, his kids. I mean, one kid owned the banks, one kid owned the roads. I mean, it was an exercise in capitalist corruption. So I think Trump is genuinely trying to fix that. I think he genuinely hates this Russian-Ukraine war. I think he correctly sees the danger of BRICS should that come to fruition. And by the way, the BRICS nations do not want to do BRICS. We've forced them into it. An international payment mechanism is only useful if you can use the international monetary unit. If you sanction this and sanction that and seize this balance and seize that balance, if you turn your international standard into an American club, it's not surprising that rational international actors don't want to use that anymore. So Trump is the first president I have in my lifetime that I have seen that understands we are doing this to ourselves. And if we don't do something different, we're going to get this nightmare scenario that, since you've known me, I've been talking about. The nightmare scenario is something like BRICS, where the US dollar plummets to near nothing. And the BRIC nations don't want to do this because they know the outcome of that. It is literally scorched earth. Yeah, we suffer greatly, but so does the whole world. I mean, the entire monetary foundation of the world collapses. That's what's at stake, and I think Trump sees that, and I like that about him. Now, if you'll let me to answer,
I haven't said a word.
I'm going to take my economics hat off now, and I put my psychologist hat on. Trump is a trip. Can we agree on that? Is that a fair statement? I don't care if you love him or hate him. That dude is a trip. I've never seen anything like it. Maybe if you go back and study Huey Long or Andrew Jackson or somebody like that, Trump is a trip. He likes to hear himself talk, but he's not stupid. He's playing chess, not checkers. And Trump Trump has figured out that the United States is the most desirable market in the world to do business in, and there's power in that. And he says tariff, 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 tariff. And like you said, he's going to tariff penguins. I bet this squirrel out here that I'm looking at right here, right now, I bet he wants tariff that squirrel just to get the squirrel to change its behavior. And you know what? It seems to be, it's premature to say it's working, but it's kind of working. People forget it's only been what? It's only been a little over 2 months. It's already kind of working. We already have, now pledges are not the same as actual checks written. But we already have some very large pledges. I think it's in the tune of about $3 trillion of new direct foreign investment from overseas. We have people caving all over the place on tariffs. People do not want a trade war. And Trump is doing what I consider 11th hour brinksmanship. Trump is someone that if you're going to play a game of, Trump is one of the last people in the world I want to play a game of chicken with. I would say Trump and Putin have more in common than people understand. Both of those people, if you play a game of chicken with them, you better be prepared to get hurt because neither one of them want to flinch. And in the game theoretic, in the expectations view of that, people understand that Trump is a bluffer, but he is willing and able to go through with the bluff. And so I think most of this tariff thing is short-term positioning to get the United States into the position that he thinks that we need to be in so he can do his domestic engineering and international engineering that he wants to do. Because I think we can all say this is the first president in our lifetime, love him or hate him, that is literally taking the entire international order, turning it upside down, burying it in the dirt, and basically urinating on it and saying, I have no use for this. This is a relic, basically a dangerous sort of anachronism of the past. And we want it. And I want a new world order where America first. And I think he respects people. I'm fairly convinced in this. I think the leaders in the world he respects, and he gets accused of being a dictator lover. And I think that's wrong. I think he loves leaders that put their own country first. I think he likes CEOs that put their company first over social values and things like that. I think that's what he really respects. I think he respects Xi. I think he respects Putin. I think he respects Maderi. I think he respects people that are trying at almost all costs to put their country first. And that's my synopsis of my view of it.
That's your take.
Sure.
I think that this is going to raise costs for everybody else.
Yeah, it will.
I think he wants to get the money that he gets from the tariffs as a massive tax cut that is going to go predominantly to the rich, while people like me end up paying more in the grocery store, or for that matter, just for goods and services in general. I think that the market, because Donald Trump is so all over the place, that the money is going to be on the sidelines as opposed to being in. I think you pointed out yourself that variability or
expectations,
uncertainty. Uncertainty, that's what it is. I mean, there's even a thing in the stock market, what is VX or something like that, based on uncertainty. Donald Trump is radical uncertainty. The EU, China, these are organizations that are big enough to tell him to F off. Other smaller countries may be okay where they're chomping at the bit. Canada, for example, is going to bend over. Agreed. Mexico may even bend over. Agreed. But the larger countries that has the ability, China, Japan, South Korea have decided to join together in order to push back on what the United States is doing. They don't accept his premise. I agree with you that what he's trying to do is pull manufacturing back into America, thinking we've lost our industrial base. I agree with you on that. In 4 years, and that's the issue, and you even pointed it out in the thing that you were saying just now. We go, Xi Jinping, Putin, hell, Angela Merkel, these people were there for like 16 years or more, meaning there's a continuity in regard to their policy, economic policy, et cetera, where they can see stuff through. If Xi Jinping is like, well, we want to build a high-speed rail that goes all the way through the country. Okay, he's going to be there from the beginning until the end of that process. That is not the way it works in America. You get Trump, Biden, Trump. You may get another Democrat the next time around, in which case your policy teeter-totters. I mean, Joe Biden's Build Back Better did squat. It was absurd. If
Oh,
you
it did
listen to
something.
like, yeah, it did nothing.
It
It was
caused a
pointless.
lot of inflation. Yeah.
I mean, the money wasn't even distributed per se, based on the way that Joe Biden had created the legislation. And then you go to Trump, and Trump is going to kill the Build Back Better thing. So that's not going to be an issue of policy. Now Trump comes up with a new world order in regards to the Ukraine war, NATO, maybe. The NATO thing is more dicey. I mean, Mark Rubio said he wasn't necessarily trying to pull out of NATO, even though the 5% thing is not something they could pay. So there may be a bit of deep politics being played in regards to NATO.
Yes.
I agree with you that that's what he's trying to do. I disagree with you that that's what's going to happen.
Well,
I don't.
well, on that note, notice what I said. There's a short run and a long run. If you if tariffs make things more expensive that are imported, that's a fact. It's not up for debate. I don't care if you're a left-wing economist, a right-wing economist. You're not an economist. You're just somebody on TV that talks. I don't care. Tariffs make things more expensive to the extent that you continue to import them. And the things that will be made the most expensive are the things that in the short run, we have no domestic alternative for. It might be something as simple as a 1 penny screw that we just simply don't make domestically. We can make them domestically, but we can't make them domestically tomorrow. We can make them domestically in 6 months, maybe, and it depends on the industry that we're talking about. But tariffs absolutely will increase prices for whatever that they are levied on, consistent with the price elasticity of demand of that particular good. You know, if it's insulin you're importing, then the consumer will pay 100% of that tariff. If there's lots of close domestic substitutes and consumers can very quickly stop buying Chinese screws and start buying screws made in Oklahoma, then the seller will pay 100% of that tariff if they want to continue to, if they want to continue to do business, in the United States.
Right.
So there's the short-term thing, and that's why I prefaced what I said with sort of the macroeconomic, or better said, the international political economy Achilles heel, if you will, of a representative democracy. It is fickle, and it's very difficult to keep anything going in a continuous manner. However, Trump is destroying the Bretton Woods arrangement. He's literally destroying it. He's destroying some of the internal institutions of Congress. He's destroying, in many ways, from my perspective at least, the way people look at the Supreme Court. He is an institution buster, but I think in the long run, he's trying. What I think Trump would like to have is to have free trade agreements with all these different countries individually, and do it in a way that we believe helps us, and a good agreement that is lasting. You and I make an agreement. If it's all one-sided for me, you're going to break that agreement sooner or later.
Right.
If it's all one-sided for you, I'm going to break it sooner or later. A good agreement is where people walk away and they compromise, they give something up, somebody else gives something up, and you have a viable, and because of the agreement, there is a positive sum game. The sum of the wealth is more than the sum of its parts. There's a synergy in there. And so I support what he's doing if to the extent that I perceive what he is doing. And I think he will be successful, because one thing that I've learned, and this, I don't know if you remember back when you first met me, there was nobody more anti-Trump than me. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. And I haven't gone full MAGA, but I am, relative to what we had, I'm fat, dumb, and happy. I am exceptionally excited about what's moving forward. Now, my one dislike that I think it's an inconsistency. I like what Trump has looked at the Ukraine-Russia war and said, this is a loser's game. And I think he's basically told Ukraine, do what I want or I'm out of here. Well, if I was President Putin, I would like that. Nobody is going to support a ceasefire if you're winning.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, maybe
Right.
they would have done a maybe a
Why it makes no
ceasefire would have
sense.
been done, back in the Biden administration when when the war first started, didn't go their way so much. But if you're winning, nobody wants to do a ceasefire.
No.
I am disappointed in the Middle East policy. I am disappointed because one of the things I liked about Trump relative to the Biden administration is I thought I was getting rid of the warmongering, and maybe I still have, but I do still believe and I'm not anti-Israel. I'm anti-Israel obsessed. I'm anti-Zionism, if you will.
Right.
I have no problem with Jewish folks. I have no problem with Israel existing. I have no problem with any of that. I do have a problem with my nation saying no matter what they do, no matter what the cost, we stand with these people. That's not America first. It's an inconsistency in the Trump administration. And that's a fact. You may like the inconsistency because we all have little inconsistencies. We make exceptions to our general rule, but I demand people acknowledge that it is an exception and it is inconsistent.
Let me ask you this, Mark. Do you really think that industries are going to take the hit necessary to bring industries back into the United States with a president that is going to be gone in 3 to 4 years?
Yes, and let me tell you why. But not yes as in 99% sure. Yes as in 75% sure. Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Because anyone that gives you metaphysical certain forecasts is a charlatan. Just don't have them on your show. Get rid of them. Those people need to be on MSNBC and Fox and all that. They're sure. They're not even real economists. They're talking heads. Maybe they have an economics degree, but they don't do real economic work. They don't get in spreadsheets and spend days forecasting, analyzing, adding, subtracting, projecting, and all that sort of a thing. The initial signs that Trump's strategy is working is, now it could just be pomp and ceremony. I admit that, but I don't think it is. We have a huge number of official announcements from international corporations that have committed, the last time I checked about a week ago, was about $3.4 trillion of new direct foreign investment.
Just be clear, though, that was before his tariff war.
Well, they knew it was coming. They knew it was coming. And I still don't consider this a tariff war. A tariff war, hold on, this is a tariff battle. This is
come on.
No. Hold on. Hear me out. This is tariff saber rattling. This is Trump positioning himself and the country to what I believe he thinks is going to get him what he wants. Trump isn't stupid. Nobody wants a real tariff war unless there's no other choice. Now, what makes Trump dangerous is when he plays chicken, he actually will push the button before the other person. He won't turn, is what I'm saying. So you have two cars going at each other. Trump isn't going to turn. And his secret weapon is most people will veer. Most people will turn away from the head-on collision, and they know Trump won't. And that's how you win games of chicken.
China's now.
So, well, actually, they already are. She just got through giving an interview, and he talked about that BRICS is a last unit. They don't want a tariff war with China. And if you notice, the largest criticism of Trump is that, this is all announcements. Again, this is the saber rattling and the cold tariff war that everybody wants to avoid that. So, but if you look at who Trump has been the nicest to in terms of his tariffs, because if you really want to hurt China with tariffs, 20% doesn't do anything. You need a 200% tariff because, to really make that have teeth. Trump has actually been friendlier to China than he has been to Canada, than he has been to the UK. He has been And I believe, and you can have me on. If I'm wrong, you can have me on, and I will eat crow publicly. I'll publicly announce that I'm wrong. And then, but if I'm right, you can have me on, and I'm gonna, ham it up a little bit, and pat myself on the back, somewhat with that. But I do believe that that the initial signs, and it's premature, but the initial signs are direct foreign investment is coming. Even though they know Trump won't be president again, the Democrats are the dumbest. The modern Democrats are the dumbest. Yeah. I mean, I don't claim to be some grand political analyst, but these are stupid people that run the Democratic Party. I see no one that, I think the Democratic Party, unless something huge happens, is almost done, for at least for the extended future. So the next president is probably, I would not be surprised if 2028 is Vance Gabbard. I would not be surprised in that at all. So even though Trump may not be president, Trump has destroyed the Republican Party. Or let me say it differently. He's destroyed the conservative nature of the Republican Party, because the whole nature of conservatives is they want tomorrow to be a strong function of what yesterday was. That's what a conservative is. Let's not have a whole lot of change. That's why progressives freak conservatives out so much, because they want these grand, changes in society that will create more justice and create more equity and more fairness and all that. And the conservatives are like, oh, we can't have that. We want tomorrow to be like yesterday. We don't, we want our house values to stay the same. We want certainty. That's the conservative, both political and economic foundation.
Right.
So given the increase in direct foreign investment, given the fact that just about everybody has backed down on the tariffs, even though publicly they're going to rattle their sabers to back down, I believe Trump is going to back down and give people an opportunity to have face. And Canada is going to drop the symbolic, whatever it is, the high dairy tariff. I find a lot of this to be hypocritical, because we have used tariffs to protect our farmers since I've studied economics. I know,
but give me your take. How is this different than the Smith-Hartley Act?
What's different is Trump's doing it. Let's be honest. Put yourself in the position of any foreign leader. Joe Biden comes to you and says, I demand you do X, Y, Z. Be honest.
Yeah, you don't care.
What are you going to do? No, you're going to laugh.
Right. Yeah, you don't care. But Joe Biden is actually,
you're going to laugh. Yeah. You're going to just be like, okay, dude. Yeah, keep talking. Yeah. You get your popcorn out. Now, when Trump says this, again, you don't have to like him. You can hate him. But if you're an objective person that can think things that you don't like and don't agree with, Trump is a different kind of person.
I know, but it depends on what it is, Mark. Like, if I'm China, I'm not accepting this. I am big enough that, look, the amount of trade that goes between the US and China is only 2% of China's GDP. They don't care. They may want to trade with America, but they can do without us. And I get the sense. I was reading some of the reports that pointed out that the dollar itself became more dodgy because of what Trump is doing with this. Meaning you already had the dollar go from 70% of the world reserve currency, like 50-something%. And their point was, this makes that even more dubious, that what Trump is doing is sticking his neck out. This is a risk for the U.S. economy, not just the world economy.
I dispute those numbers, by the way. I don't know where you got that source, but that's not what I would.
You don't buy it?
State no.
That the world reserve currency, that the U.S. dollar is like 58%.
No, what I'm saying is it has not dropped to 50%. In fact, it's
no. I didn't say 50.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Last I saw it was like 58%. But
well, that depends on how you compute it, whether you're using gross domestic product, whether you're using gross national product. But if you look at it in the terms of weighted contracts by dollar denomination as a percentage of non-dollar denominations, it's actually increased. And it's increased because the United States looks like it's becoming less combative and hold on. It is becoming less combative. Trump clearly has a different worldview than the Democrats did during the Joe Biden administration. He clearly has a different worldview than the Republicans, than any Republican in my lifetime has had. And the American First agenda, which has its warts, but the American First agenda absolutely is predicated on let's stay out of foreign wars. That stupid signal thing that what's his name, invited the journalist on. That made it clear. There's debate within, Vance and Tulsi. They were clearly saying this isn't really MAGA. This is not really America First. We're entangling ourselves in foreign wars and things, and if we want to remain the economic powerhouse that we are, we have to play nice with the rest of the world. In order to play nice with the rest of the world, we have to destroy the habits that we've got ourselves into and that we've got our friends into. And as
they turn around and bomb Yemen, and is now threatening Iran.
Well, I agree, and I'm not in favor of that. But it's a threat, and we will have to see. But what I'm arguing is what I suspect, what I strongly believe, based on my experience, is true, and that Trump is mostly saber rattling. He does not want to get into a war with Iran, but if he wants to win the midterms, he can't completely divorce himself from the Jewish lobby and the Jewish voice, which would love to see us just put Iran into the Stone Age. That, I think, I don't know anyone to deny that. I think that's a fairly true statement.
So it's the Israel First administration, not
right.
America First.
Yes. Now, China. So let's talk about China. China's banking system, if it was Western standards, is on the verge of collapse. Almost every bank they have is insolvent. Their internal domestic problems, from unemployment to deflation to all sorts of things, is causing a lot of social unrest. They've still pegged their currency to the dollar. And during the Biden administration, when we printed money like printing presses were going out of style, they were forced to print money. And they didn't need to print money because their economy was already overheated. Then they printed money. Then I think you had me on about 5 years ago, and I said China's about to do a controlled burn. They're going to forcibly put their economy into a recession so that they don't have a depression. That's exactly what they did, and it stopped the crumbling of what they have. But China has a lot of problems, and China understands that they do not want to get into a economic war with the United States. Trump could, if he wanted to, completely destroy their economy by just, hold on, he could do it with an executive order. Now, it would seriously harm our own economy, but all he would have to do is just take most favored nation away from them. That would take them out of the banking system. That would take them out of the International Monetary Fund. It would take them out of most of the world's financial. It would turn them into Russia. Now, Russia, one of the magnificent things about Russia, you had me on the day of the sanctions, that when Biden put the sanctions on them. And if you remember what I did, I bought rubles. I bet the farm.
Right. Right.
I lost money for a week. And then I quadrupled my money. And I told people, this is unsustainable. It's not going to happen. And I sold half of it. I still have the other half. And if you go look, ruble's doing good.
Mark, I'm gonna have to. I have another.
It's always fun, man. Always fun.
I'm gonna leave it on that. Now, I gotta be honest. I don't know if that's true about the Chinese economy.
Sorry.
I would have somebody on I don't know enough about the Chinese economy to debate you one way or the other on it. So I'm going to leave your comment the way your comment is. You're right. You did buy rubles. You did make a ton of money on rubles. I remember when that first took place. I wish I would have followed you and bought those rubles. Right with you, Mark. I always appreciate having you on, man. I
Always a
really do.
pleasure, my friend.
Thank you for this, Mark Frost,
Best
economist.
show on YouTube.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. All
Economist,
right, man.
professor, consultant, drummer, Eagle Scout, Marine, capitalist, Jupiter. And you
Cat
can follow
lover.
Mark on Twitter at FrostTheCash. I always appreciate you, man. Whether I agree with you or not, I always appreciate these conversations. You be safe, Mark. Have a good
All
one.
right, man. You have a great one.
Thank you. All right. I would like to bring on my next guest another person I am always enamored to talk to, Kofi Kwaku. He's an African analyst, senior research fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies in the University of Johannesburg. Kofi, my man, how you doing today? You
Yes,
doing all right?
I'm doing great. Gosh, you would have let me talk to Dr. Frost there. I would have taken on China there. For
Oh,
goodness sake.
you wanted to have a go at it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
I
I
mean, look,
mean,
he's an American economist. You know, they have a certain
yeah,
view of China.
e-
I'm greatly doubtful of what Mark
yeah.
said.
I'm glad you put it out there because it's just, I mean, the evidence doesn't show much of what you're saying.
Yeah, I
You
don't buy
know,
the premise.
even the economists
people that don't even that just sit on Fox News, and they have a certain agenda they're pushing under the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, which was enacted in 2013. It was under the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act, where the media is allowed to put propaganda out to the people. So you're going to hear this bad, 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 because they're trying to take over the House and Senate in 2026 and the presidency in 2028. I don't see how that happens. Surprisingly, I take shortcuts through the central city, and I'm seeing dudes driving around in cyber trucks right now. Just saying. Well, I saw one, but if the trend continues, we'll see another one. And it was on a street where a very, let's just put it this way, extremely dangerous little section of town. I've been there delivering medical equipment. I know it. Everyone knows it. All right, it's right off. It's bad. So I'm going to fly, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, but don't listen to the naysayers. And also, we need to look into the Marshall Plan, which was put in place in began functioning between, I think it was 48 and 51, I believe, by Truman. And essentially, the equivalent of 2024 US dollars, it would be that we gave Europe $133 billion to reconstruct Europe after World War II. Trump hates this shit. So Trump is looking at the 20-year plan to modernize the world. And he's working fast and he's doing some weird shit. But I think it's going to work. But again, when you have, oh my God, 3 days into it, no. 20 cents on the dollar to China is bullshit. It's peanuts. So, okay, we're going to fly. Let's see.